Hi, I'm Dan, and you're watching an instructional screencast presented by GearWire.com. This is going to be the second in a series on the rear-wire device DrumCore, and it's a loop library as well as a loop librarian or database, and also an instrument. But in this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create sort of a 8-measure loop that doesn't necessarily repeat over and over again. And we're going to be doing this in Sonar 6 Producer Edition. So, first of all, it's easy to browse through different loops here in DrumCore. This is one I particularly like. It's Alan White is playing, and it's called Brownesque. Here's at 120. Turn the volume just a little bit. All right, so as you can see, we have our bass file loaded in here, and if we'd like, we could just drag that into Sonar. What I'd first like to do, though, is create its own audio track. If we just drag it up to the audio track on DrumCore, that's actually returned from the rewire device, so we won't necessarily, we won't hear the audio playback from the file. So one thing we have to do is Alt-Tab back to DrumCore. If you're using a Macintosh, it'll be Apple-Tab. One thing I kind of don't like is when working with rewire devices in Sonar is you can't float these windows, so you have to keep on tabbing back and forth. I actually like to work on a multi-display, but for this screencast we don't have that. So what I'm going to do is just drag our basic track into Sonar on the first beat. So if we play that back, it's going to be a little louder. So what I'm going to do is actually just bring down our master fader a little bit and press play. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that, but like I said, I wanted to sort of change things up. So for the fourth beat here, and I guess we'll just do we'll just do 4 with a fill, is go back to DrumCore, and what we can do here is turn off certain types of files. So what I did is I turned off the MIDI files and I turned off the regular loops. And so what we're going to be hearing is only fills. So we can just browse through until we find one that we like. Kind of like this one. But as we can hear, that's a 2-measure loop. So what we want to do over here is just grab it, and we're going to do some quick slip editing in Sonar. I'm going to zoom in. And we are locked to the grid. That's this button right here, if you can see that. And I'm going to take this fill file and just take out the first measure and then move it. And since we're snapped to grid, it just goes there. Now let's listen to the file playing back from the third measure. Well, that definitely doesn't sound right. One thing about these loops is that they're played by a human. I think that's a great thing. So as you can see, this hit starts a little before the beat. So what I'm going to do is turn off our grid and do a little freeform slip editing, and also do the same to our second file. Now, one thing in Sonar which is really nice, they do auto crossfades whenever you have overlooping tracks. You can change that. You can also change the type of curve, but this one works just fine for what we're doing right here. So listen back from the third measure. Turn our snap back on. Okay, that's still sounding a little weird, so I'm going to turn our snap back off and go all the way over here. We're going to go in the other direction. And once again, zoom in and do an auto crossfade. And we'll see how that sounds with our grid back on. All right, that's a little more believable. So what I'm going to do is just grab the whole thing and repeat it. And now, after 8 measures, I'd like to add a little tag. So I'm going to reopen DrumCore, and I hit this little more key. And as you can see, we get some more options over here. And what I'm going to do is check out these single hits. And I want a cymbal. I don't want a chime, I want a crash. Let's see. There we go. And I kind of like these grabs. Maybe I'll end it with a grab. So I'll just drag the file up here. And now we have our cymbal grab. And I also want a kick. So back up to the single hit. Drop down. Kick. These are a little hard, a little soft. This medium one, I think, is the one we'll go with. So what I'll need to do here is just create another audio file, or audio track, rather, and drag our medium kick up to that at the same time as the cymbal hit. So now we can listen to our entire file. All right, well, the transition into the fifth measure isn't perfect, but I think we get the idea here. So thanks for checking out this instructional screencast presented on GearWire.com.